A new rumor claims that Ubisoft is planning to shut down Ubisoft Quebec after it releases Assassin's Creed Shadows. Roll this up over at fandompulse.com. You can find the link in the description below. A source reached out to us and told us this: Ubisoft Quebec, aka Assassin's Creed Shadows developers, should be shut down a month or two after release. The source also added nothing new there. Everyone is panicking and not expecting to be there in 6 months. So that is what the source told us over here at Fandom Pulse. And that's what he's saying. I'm not sure if I fully believe it, given the fact that this seems to be one of the premier studios for Assassin's Creed. Obviously, they released Assassin's Creed Odyssey back in, 2018. They're now working on Assassin's Creed Shadows. But I do think there's also a bunch of evidence that shows that this could indeed be true. So let's get into that right here. If you go to Ubisoft's website, you see if there's any job openings in Quebec City, where Ubisoft Quebec is located. There are none. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Nothing. So that's not a good sign. If you search for if you go to Montreal or whatever, I think there's 34 or 43. They definitely have a bunch of openings there in Montreal. Also, obviously, in the province of Quebec. Furthermore, aside from Assassin's Creed Shadows, the only other project the studio has publicly announced it is working on is Rainbow Six Mobile. They announced that back in 2022, April 2022, and said they were working on that in collaboration with Ubisoft Montreal. And then just last year in July, Ubisoft announced that it was actually delaying that game. And they said this: Rainbow Six Mobile and the Division Resurgence are no longer expected in fiscal year 25, as the teams are taking the necessary time to ensure that these experiences deliver on expectations with optimized KPIs, key progress indicators, in the context of a demanding yet very large market. So after Shadows, there might not be anything else that they are working on. Now, obviously, there could be DLC, etc. We know that there is going to be DLC for Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, we're not sure how long they're going to be supporting that game. We know with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, it absolutely bombed in February last year, and they supported it for basically a year, rolling out, 4 seasons. So it's possible that Ubisoft maybe does something similar, or they decide to pull a BioWare, pull an EA, and be like, yeah, we're done. We're not actually going to be supporting this anymore. And they pull the plug basically 3 months after for even any kind of bug fixes. They announced that this, I think it was last week. They announced that at the end of last week. They said that they were only going to be looking at game-breaking bugs now, and they weren't really going to be supporting the game anymore. So 2 options available there, depending on how well the game sells. And I have a feeling it's probably going to sell around what we saw with Dragon Age: The Veilguard, with Star Wars Outlaws, maybe around that $1.5 million mark. And then if you go back to 2020, the company, when the video game market was at its peak, so much games were being sold, so much money was being made, and they released Immortals Fenyx Rising back then, and we just found out that game was not commercially viable, or at least they confirmed it was not commercially viable. Assassin's Creed executive producer Mark Alexis Cote said this during an appearance at the External Development Summit. He said, "We got tasked with building a new IP in a very, very, very short amount of time, so that was Immortals Fenyx Rising. That project kind of broke my heart in a way. Still one of the favorite games I've ever built. Unfortunately, it was not commercially viable for the franchise to continue, but I felt we had something great. I had a lot of fun building that game." So that was the last game that they released, was Immortals Fenyx Rising. It did not sell well. It was not commercially viable. And if they come out with a second one, how much will the main Ubisoft bosses be lenient towards them after 2 massive failures in a row? If Assassin's Creed Shadows happens to be another failure, which I think it looks like it's going to be, I think it's going to massively underperform. That's what I'm seeing with all of my indicators. I mean, they've already delayed this game. They originally delayed the game to February, said they were spending another $20 million. They've now delayed it again to March, and then we're still seeing all kinds of bugs with this game. So, which they haven't fixed yet. And they said that they were delaying the game to fix all of these bugs and polish it up. So it's like, what have they actually been doing? I mean, there's a dog getting stuck on the stairs that you can't even pet and stuff, and they just try and blow past it. It's just, it's disastrous. It's absolutely disastrous what they've been doing here. So we also know that they have been shutting down studios. They shut down their studio in San Francisco and Osaka. I wrote San Diego here. That's wrong. It's San Francisco. I'll have to fix that. But they did this just in December. And this is what they said. As a result, half of the X-Defiant team worldwide will be transitioning to other roles within Ubisoft. This decision also leads to the closing of our San Francisco and Osaka production studios and to the ramp down of our Sydney production site, with 143 people departing in San Francisco and 134 people likely to depart in Osaka and Sydney. So they aren't opposed to shutting down studios. They shut down San Francisco and Osaka in December after they announced the shuttering of X-Defiant. So maybe they do release Assassin's Creed Shadows and they shut down their Quebec studio. I mean, and again, you just go back to yesterday. They confirmed that they shut down this Ubisoft Leamington, which is located in Warwickshire, England. A spokesman told this to Eurogamer. As part of our ongoing efforts to prioritize projects and reduce costs that ensure long-term stability at Ubisoft, we have announced targeted restructurings at Ubisoft Dusseldorf, Ubisoft Stockholm, and Ubisoft Reflections, and the permanent closure of Ubisoft Leamington. Unfortunately, this should impact 185 employees overall. We are deeply grateful for their contributions and are committed to supporting them through this transition. So there is a lot of evidence here that this what we're hearing from our source could indeed be true, that they might shut down this Quebec studio because we've seen them shut down studios in the past 2 months, right? They shut down San Francisco, they shut down Osaka, they just shut down Leamington. We're also seeing them do significant staff reductions in Dusseldorf, Stockholm, United Reflections, and Sydney before that. So I definitely think it's possible that they could shut down Quebec, although I think it's more likely that they just might see significant layoffs. But we will see. It'll be really interesting to see what happens here. But I think it's safe to say that things are not looking good over there at Ubisoft. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And I think this Assassin's Creed Shadows game really is not going to sell well. I talked about the story trailer. It already has like a 2-to-1 or a 1-to-2 like to dislike ratio. It's not looking good over there. The Japanese people are infuriated. Again, they haven't fixed anything on that front. They've removed the desynchronization, so you can just now mass kill innocent civilians. It's looking worse and worse and worse the closer we get. So again, we'll see if they even delay the game even more. And then when they delay the game to make all of these changes to supposedly fix these things, they are spending more and more money. So they're getting even deeper in the red. And it's always been my opinion that they should have just released it in November, gotten as much as they possibly could, and then gone from there and just kind of ate the losses. Instead, they're just racking up the losses. I think that's what's going to happen, is they're just going to continue racking up the costs, racking up losses, and they're not even going to recover as much as what they would have back in November because they are now outside of the Christmas season. But let me know what you guys make of what this source told us here at Fandom Pulse, that Ubisoft Quebec could be shut down a month or two after the release of Assassin's Creed Shadows, and that everyone is panicking and they are not expecting to be there in 6 months. Let me know what you guys make of this in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, to always speak the truth, and never forget that everything woke turns to crap.